My name is Abby Simmons. I'm the Director of Education here at the Allentown Art Museum, and it is my distinct pleasure to welcome all of you to another dynamic conversation with Ellen Berkenblit and Vasari Paints. We'll start by introducing our artist of the day, which is Ellen Berkenblit.
Just wanted to say, I love the quiet of my studio, and like my father, who is a chemist, and working quietly in the laboratory, like my father, I've always felt happiest by myself in my studio. This is my father's research lab at IBM back in the late 50s. I also, in terms of paint, I credit my father who, during my formative years, was always painting and repainting our house. And he showed me that paint is your friend. Paint gets things done. And this is a photograph that my father took of me when I was 15, when I was painting, of course, and something I've always done. This is a drawing from 1970, and I was 11, and I thought it was a good thing to show. My dedication to profiles has not wavered. If some of you know my work presently, it's very profile-oriented. So this is a painting that's in the show here called Lake's Room. And when I make my paintings and when I look at my paintings, mostly what I see is paint. Yes, there are figures, and I see them too. But the figures are without a narrative and without a real-life reference. I find that they're the unwitting conduit of my id rather than the conscious ego of the narrative. And I wanted to show some details because this is, as I'm painting, this is really what I see at certain points. I'm going in and out. The paintings are pretty large. They're bigger than I am, so mostly my relationship to the painting is, when it's close, when I'm making them, looks like this. This is another painting that's in the show here, and I wanted to say that the lines that I make, the choices I make in my lines, feel like a very natural calligraphy for me. They're basically what my arms do, my wingspan, what my wrist does, very naturally. I feel like as if I'm signing my name on a piece of paper. It's just very unfiltered. One of the colors that is, I'm going to talk about Vasari colors a little bit more, but this one has a lot of swamp green, as you might, those who are familiar. Swamp green is great because of a million reasons, but swamp green also dries really slowly. So I have to be, I always have to be patient, but I especially either need to be very patient with swamp green or be able to scrape it away if I want to do something else rather than swamp green. So I just wanted to say that some people find my work to be very dark and angry, and some find my work to be very humorous. And I think possibly they are both. Actually, featured here a lot in this painting is a Vasari color, transparent oxide yellow. I do mostly mix the crap out of my paintings on my palette. I barely ever use paint straight from the tube. So when I say that particular color of chromium oxide yellow, it's doctored with other Vasari paints. The pendant, the part that's around the black, That's pure burnt umber. And burnt umber is something I'll get back to, but it's a magic color that Vasari makes, I think, the most miraculous version. It's nothing and it's everything for a paint to just pulsate like that and be able to conjure 18 karat gold when it's brown is, I think, maybe I can attribute some of that to me, but also to this luscious material. This is another painting that's also in the show. I feel like it's pure magic to bring something to life with paint on a surface. It's thrilling. It's also how I make sense of things, and if only momentarily make sense of things, it is basically how I feel like I make sense of things. It's full of accidents, and if I let my superego drop away, the paint and my body take over, allowing for those unscripted elements. This painting has a lot of unscripted elements to take over with their powerful honesty. This painting was painted on a primed with clear gesso linen. So those, what looked like white here, is actually just the canvas, the linen showing through. I think letting things be can sometimes be the most beautiful expression. And sometimes painting over and over and over can do the same thing. This painting it's called Finery Plush, and also in the show. The hair is a lot of Terra Rosa, which is another Vasari paint that is quite a powerhouse. In my studio, I work on several paintings at the same time. I also work on them all for usually several weeks, several months. They get put aside. They might be left, or they might come back to me painting on them. This is a painting that went through so many stages that actually it was too many photographs to show today. So I just wanted to show, this is in the show. Again, lots of swamp green here, that kind of murky yellow. And, whoops. And this is a detail that basically could never have been planned. It was the removal of paint that made this come alive to me. So this show, which is actually not, this painting, which is not in the show, I wanted to show you like a typical evolution of a painting of mine. And this is over a period of several weeks, possibly months. This is what the painting ended up looking like. And this was the first day of it. Was there like an audible gasp in the auditorium? And then I turned it over. And then somehow, yes, like I'll go back, those tiger stripes are still in there, it got turned over again. Those tiger stripes never actually left, like they just stayed on. And it became that. That's the finished painting. I really love to mix colors, as I was mentioning, and this, the skin tones are something that are made out of so many different colors. There is an intense purple that I use, but The rest of it is all earth colors, so there's this great balance between something very synthetic and purple and almost, plastic looking, and then adding earth colors, which just bring it into some other realm. Yes, I'm completely in love with color and paint, and colors can give me sensations that are beyond the visual, sensations of flavor and word sounds, like a whole other language that talks to me as I'm working. I really think that tubes of paint are basically magic wands, and Vasari makes some of the most beautiful that anyone could find. I wanted to just talk specifically about some Vasari colors and just give you my personal notes that I've stored in my head. And Gail and John will show you colors later, but chromium oxide green. So that's the heaviest tube, I think. It has a beautiful sluggish drag, and my notes here say it feels like it's stuffed with velvet fibers. Terra Rosa, another crazy pigment. It's a penetrating, serious red. Another Vasari favorite of mine is French Rossiana Light. And that one I just recently discovered. That one is basically algae that is rotted, but it remains very luminous. I don't know if you would agree with that. Italian Yellow Earth, which is, to me, it's golden fizz. French Yellow Ochre Pale. And that one to me is like a negligee. It's just like a delicate, lacy nothing, but somehow changes everything it touches. Like, it's very sneaky. The Rossiana Light, again, very unexpected. It's a thick jolt of a very dirty yellow velvet to me. The transparent yellow oxide to me is glowing lion's fur. That's all I can think about when I use that, even if I use it for an eyeball. And then the lamp black, which I recently tried, and that one is just like unending liquid eyeliner. That's all it is to me, in the best way. And then, of course, burnt umber, which I think, Gail from Vasari introduced me to burnt umber. I always thought, why would I buy a brown paint? How boring. Wrong, I was wrong. Burnt umber is, it's not brown paint at all, even though for years I thought it was. It is basically, it's a pulsating power that was unleashed from the earth. It's nothing less than that. It's the magic of our planet in a tube of paint. And these images are either finished paintings or paintings on their way to being finished, but this is just to show you how beautiful burnt umber is. This is a painting that's in the show. I mean, it's the type of thing that when and it dries overnight, which is like a crazy thing for oil paint to do. Oil paint is sort of my thing, and I've learned and also love the different drying times and how that slows me down in a good way. To show you. At the end of the day in my studio, I hate throwing out anything, especially paint. So I scrape it all together and I put it into a jar and use it. Sometimes the next day, sometimes in a few days. This was a painting that I had a lot of that jarred mixture it's like muck, and I just wanted to use it, and I did, and I made this painting thinking I would make it more colorful or do something, but I didn't, and I'm so glad I didn't do anything further. It was just all the leftover oil paints just in harmony, being very scrappy and humble and powerful at the same time. Yeah, using Vasari paints, just again to compliment you so much, because the paints are so special and pure, and the earth colors are something that I never really grasped until I used Vasari earth colors, has taught me so much about what I can do as a painter. And then, yeah, just a couple of shots of my studio. I'm always working on a couple of things at once. And then this is a new painting that I just finished. I only know where they are because I've either labeled the can or I have this system where I know where to reach for certain colors, but they get messed up pretty quickly. This. So this, I don't know if any of you have seen the movie H is for Hawk, which came out maybe last year or this year, and I saw it recently. And when I saw, I wanted to show this clip from it because when I saw it, I thought, this is me with paint. Yes, a day in the studio. So anyway, I'd love to hand over the program to Gail and John from Vasari. Thank you. Actually, I wanted to ask a question right away to you guys. Will you talk about the Mesa Verde earth pigment? Because I think it's so interesting, the story behind that, and it's come and gone. Like it was from one specific dig, and I was lucky enough to get a tube, and lucky even further that Gail was able to find me 100 little tubes in the back room because I was almost crying. She said, "Oh no, that was just from one dig." But will you? I think that's amazing that you did that. The Mesa Verde story.
Well, we used to do a lot of trips out west, and there was a potter out there that would source his own pigments for his pottery and sculpture. Yeah, and he took us around to some of the spots where he would get his colors, and we were lucky enough to find. And what Mesa Verde is a natural green earth, and natural green earths are just crushed volcanic rock. And we've been lucky we don't have any more of that because it was only so much at that source. But we've been able to import from Italy and also from Cyprus some beautiful natural green earths. And because it's crushed rock, is not only is a larger particle size, it dries quick because it's not dirt. It's very different, and it reflects it reflects back light in such a different way because there's more surface area to it. And that French yellow ochre pale that you were talking about, that's similar in that it's just a lot of crushed stone, quartz, and that's why it has a texture. We also have powdered slate, and all these pigments are possible, and especially in the concentration we're able to put in that tube, because we manually fill each tube one at a time. You can't, and also you have to make your paint in very small batches. So it all comes down to this older way of making color and packaging it. And in fact, I often tell people the best way to judge your color is ask the paint maker, how long do you spend putting the paint in the tube, and how do you do it?
That's interesting.
So did I answer your question with that?
I just thought like that was such an interesting endeavor that you found this, only this amount of that volcanic rock. And also it was one of my first experiences using one of your earth colors. I think, you just said, oh, you might like this, and I took it and I was like, I'll try it, of course. And it was mind-blowing because, like the fizziness of a lot of the other imported earths, it does something crazy with the paint, like it lifts it up in the air, even though it's on the palette. And then it also tells me how to paint. Like it gives me this new direction to take. So my paintings, which are never, even though they have figures in them, are never really figurative or narrative, even lend themselves more to the idea it's just paint in the most honorable way of saying, not just paint, but here it is. This is paint's glory. It's not a painting of a woman. It's a painting with paint. And and the earth colors and all of your colors have brought me further into being able to have that discourse.
Yeah, and I think what you're bringing out over and over again is the fact when you look at a painting, you are looking at the paint more than anything else. And I also think that the color is so important in a painting, more so than line or composition, or the color creates the space. And for me.
Yes, and not only in the finished painting, but as a painter in the studio making the painting, the color is one of those channels, the big, large channel of language that propels me through the painting. And the accidents that happen between colors. I mean, it's not just color as much as colors.
Right.
And
their conversation.
Their conversation. Plus then this extra thing of the textures that your paint, is unrivaled at, having these different textures that are very particular to each color and pigment.
Yeah, we're just being true to what the pigment is.
Yeah.
That's all. That's our mission.
It's a big thing.
Thank you.
Questions from the audience?
How many tubes do you produce in a year?
That would definitely be a super rough estimate in my head. I make it every day, but it's like a small batch, and we get a couple hundred tubes out of that. So I'm constantly we have one mill, and I'm constantly making a different color every day. So it's basically it's a good way for me to know how popular some of the colors are, whether or not I'm making it every other week or every other month. So
Yeah.
I have a question for Ellen and for the representatives from the SARI. I have two separate questions.
Oh, yeah.
I think Ellen, you talk about painting in a very natural, virtuosic way. Like you kind of showed that profile you made when you were like a teenager and how it's remained with you. I wanted to ask if you could talk a little bit about your sort of loyalty to the profile, and then maybe in a broader way, what you really struggle with in painting.
That's a good question. Thanks. So my loyalty to the profile is more of a complete, me allowing completely my body or my subconscious or my id to dictate. And I think that the fact that somehow that shape has just naturally always come out of me, starting with when I was a kid. And I think because I also started drawing and painting when I was really, like 3 or 4 years old, like most kids, and then I just kept doing it, that I just kind of relied on, that's what feels comfortable to my hand. And it always, to me, felt like this channel to allow the most truth to come out of something that I couldn't explain in a super ego way, but more of just a primal way. So I never fought that impulse to make the profile, and it just does sort of come out of me. And I thought, okay, that's a great springboard, also because, like, even looking through when I was showing the progression of that painting, that was a tiger and then it became 2 women. The figure is so part of it, yet not. So I feel like if I just break open the canvas very naturally with what I feel comfortable with, then I let the paint take over, like the hawk, like we'll just sit there together, me and the paint, and figure stuff out. And then the second part of the question was?
Something that you struggle with.
Oh, what I struggle with? Everything. I think I struggle because, in a way that doesn't feel like it's a bad thing. I feel like I wrestle with things, and it's a back and forth. But the struggle part, yes, which I feel like is more of a wrestling match. Nobody ever wins, but it does propel me. And I think the more frustrated I can get, the off to the side I go in a good way. And then there are times where I'm not struggling at all, and I'm just like, oh, this was just like walking through a park, But it's like a mixture of that and feeling like crap in the studio and thinking I suck and all that. Like, it's all part of it. So, yeah. But I kind of welcome that struggle.
Something occurred to me, which is that, the profile of the girl comes really naturally, but your tigers are frontal facing, but the profile of the girl is kind of feline. And so this is coming from your id. Have you ever thought about why the animals take on a frontal view and the girls take a side?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, not in maybe these paintings that are in the show. I have done mostly profile felines as well, like tigers in profile. I think they're not represented in this body work. And I've also done some full frontal female faces, but they're oddities, I think. The thing with the full frontal felines that feels like not an oddity to me is like there's something like they start with like these 2 circles, which are the eyes. And I feel like that's like just so this basic thing. But yes, it's not a profile. It's very true. It's like 2 circles, and then it becomes a face.
Okay, and then my question for Vasari is that what constitutes like a new color, a new pigment? Does it have to be like a chemically homogeneous pigment, or are there colors that you guys invent by mixing two pre-existing pigments from different sources together? What is the new pigment?
Well, if you look at our products like online and stuff, you can see like a lot of different colors that they've created over the years, and that's through experimentation, and also some of our beloved customers have come in with like a new color idea. We have a set called the set Color and Light, which is by an artist, Scott Christensen, and a lot of those they're some of the most popular because people don't realize that they need them until they see them and feel them. And a lot of something like the Lily Rose, we just look at all of our products and we say, where's the pink? Or where? It's sometimes we have over 100 colors, and there's literally so many more to go. When it comes to pigment itself, there's really high octane pigments out there that they're so electric, and in the past whenever a pigment was like electric, it would indicate bad light fastness, or especially those violets, they would end up losing their color over the years. And now a lot of those problems are kind of getting fixed little by little.
Yeah, I would say we are so lucky to be in the 21st century with all these advances in color chemistry and nanotechnology, and the fact that pigments aren't made for artists, they're made for these other industries who demand safety, permanence. You don't want your car fading in a driveway, kind of thing. And other industries want a very chromatic pigment so they can save money and not have to use a lot. So you get these really high performance, strong pigments. And the other thing, too, I wanted to say, and it's just endless, and a lot of the things from the past, like for instance the dioxazine purple, when we first started making paint, we were afraid to use that because it was somewhat fugitive. But now there's a different version of a red shade that's completely light fast. So now we can make that color, and it's just over time. And the other part I wanted to talk about was when one of the things that inspires us to make colors, besides the availability of new pigments, is the fact that we look at a lot of art. We travel to museums, we look at shows. We did a whole series of extra pale earth colors just from looking at paintings at a show in Madrid of Renaissance art. And because we're working with real pigment, natural earths, and the fact that we hand fill our tubes, we can make a beautiful extra pale earth color that's a tint. But because John's making them from the dry pigment, they're much brighter than what you can mix on your palette. And you could even mix with them. All of our tints have so much pigment. They're not really convenience colors. They're colors in and of themselves. But it is art. It is a conversation that all of us FSRE have. We're always going to shows and museums and traveling and being inspired to make a new color.
We also, we can be all talk. So usually we always encourage people to come in and feel it yourself, because a lot of these, it's the same thing with a painting. You can see a painting online and pass it by, but then you see it in real life and you're like, so a lot of these pigments, you just have to really feel them and spread them around and, choose.
And the fact that you allow people to do that, I mean, that's how I was introduced to your painting. I went to the previous showroom that was in Chelsea many years back, and Gail was there, and it was just me and Gail, and I was able to ask Gail to show me any color, like it was this, and there's nobody else who does that. Not only is the paint the best in the world, but you get to play with it if you go to Vasari and get all the background. That's impossible at anywhere else.
Yeah, and when the paint is fully pigmented, I mean, the way I learned a lot about color mixing is because the paint taught me. There was so much pigment in the paint.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of working with it and observing it. And, it's just very obvious.
It's so true. Paint teaches.
Right.
Other questions?
Ask Ellen, before you start a piece, how do you get your inspiration? From here, does it come from external, and how do you plan it out?
Oh, okay.
Sorry, really quickly, just to repeat the question so everyone could hear. She asked where the inspiration comes from and how you map out your paintings and essentially where you start your work from.
Yeah, that's a great question. I do the opposite of mapping out. I just start and I just go. Like, I think that painting makes the painting, like the act, for me, this is just talking about how I work, because as you know, every artist has another way that they work. This is mine. I just start moving the paint around. I get lots of inspiration from the chain reaction of putting something down, then wiping it away, and quite often a lot of the information that I stick with or the passages are things that I was really trying to get rid of something. And in the process of bulldozing, I unearthed something that was actually even more truthful than what I thought I was about to draw. So to me, there's a subconscious going at the same time, which I trust. I just want to go with that. And a lot of, I would say, the inspiration comes from a few things. One is just the day-to-day. Anything that crosses my path, I think, gets stored. Because I think we all store any stuff that we're not taking too seriously, or we are taking it seriously, the whole gamut. But all of that stuff will come out eventually, I think. If I just start painting, not all of it, not every single thing, but something in my house, I might pass it every day for 6 years, and then one day, weirdly, it'll end up in a painting that I didn't even think I was painting what I thought I was painting. And another inspiration, though, very important, again, back to just paint, is I have a large glass palette, and that to me is also making the painting. Mixing paint on that palette, even if it doesn't end up on the canvas, is part of the making that painting. I think it's a meditative state. It's not necessarily a calm meditative state, but it's like a zone, really, maybe that's the word. And the mixing on the palette is part of that zone.
So we have time for one more question.
This is for Ellen. I'm really fascinated with what you say of your process. For me, as the consumer of your art, or the looker, those eyes, and I can't tell if those eyes for me are laser focused or if they're shielding. Have you ever dug down deep inside yourself and say, how do I always end up with those eyes?
Wow, that's You know what? I haven't dug down deep, but I think even if I did dig down deep, probably I have dug down deep. I'll backtrack, but I don't know the answer. That's really what I'm trying to, because I think I dig down deep probably more often than I need to about too many things in life that are not even in the studio. So I guess I do dig down deep, but I still don't, I don't know. Yeah.
Thank you for trying to answer.
Yeah, that was the best I could come up with.
Just as a further question, how did you dig down deep, or did you, for the nose?
For the that again is just my that is just my arm moving. You know, like I think it's again me just like giving over to my body as opposed to my mind. Yeah, I feel like my work is very athletic, more than intellectual.
Thank you so much. Can we have a round of applause for our speakers? And before I close out the program, I'd like to ask, where can we find more of your work, whether online or in person, upcoming shows, exhibitions?
Well, in New York, I show with Anton Kern Gallery. If you guys get to New York, they're sort of my main gallery. I show, I have a group show coming up. Well, there's a group show at Anton Kern right now, actually. That's up through April 11th, I believe. And I will do a group show, a 3-person show with Derek Eller Gallery, but I still do not know when that will be. It might be in about 8 months. And that'll be with Barbara Nessim, who's an amazing artist, and also another amazing artist, Emily May Smith. So the 3 of us will do a show together.
Wonderful. Same question to our friends at Vasari. Any events coming up where we can come see you?
Okay.
Well, we are going to be in the Portrait Society down in Georgia. Not that anybody's going to make it there. But we're located in Industry City, Brooklyn, and in eastern Pennsylvania, right off the Carl Sterner Arch Trail, which is also a great place to do some plein air and stuff. But yeah, we do encourage everybody to come in, and also on our website we did kind of update, and we put a color chart with more information there so that people can pick out their colors easier. But again, it's better to feel it.
Yeah, and we have some cards right there by the door that has our addresses for our 2 showrooms, of course, our contact information, the website, and the Instagram account.
Yeah.
Oh, and also the website is so good for videos. Your videos on the website are amazing. So that's a whole treasure trove of information. They're so good.
Yeah, and we do videos every week in our emails. If you want to sign up, we always feature painters or shows worldwide even, and it's a great resource. I've had so many art instructors thank me for the emails that they use in their teaching.
Yep, they're amazing.
Yeah.
I want to thank you again, Ellen, Gail, and John, for coming out today to share your knowledge and expertise. And thank you to all of you for joining us for today's dynamic conversation. Just as a reminder, Ellen Berkenblit's exhibition, The Clouds Are Luminous, is on view now through May 7th. And if you haven't been able to see it yet, I hope you'll go up now or visit us again. They really are larger than life, and the slideshow doesn't do them as much justice as seeing them in person. I hope you'll join us again next month. We have another artist talk on April 25th with Amanda Valdez, which will be an incredible time to learn about her process as well. And we're always free thanks to many, many generous sponsors. And we appreciate, of course, all of our members as well. You get first view of new exhibitions, including Ellen's, which is past now, but for future exhibitions, you can find out more at our front desk. Thank you all again, and have a great day.